Hello there everyone, welcome back to another video about a children's trading card game. As you can see from the title, today I'm going to be unboxing the One Piece Film Edition starter deck, and then I'm going to be giving my review of the cards inside, and my review of whether or not you should buy this starter deck, and if you should be buying it, how many you should be buying. So let's go ahead and jump into it. We'll start off by opening it. I believe this is going to be a fairly standard starter deck affair in terms of it looking exactly the same as the others. This VHS sized box, you slide it open and you get your rules and play sheet, and then your starter deck delivered to you in the contents of this box. I think these starters look really nice on a shelf, by the way, and I have kept one copy of each of them so far on my shelf, and I will probably continue to do so. So you take this little plastic thing off here, and then we have the contents of the deck. So of course we have our leader, and then we got our Don cards. Nothing special about these. These will go in the bin very swiftly. And we have our leader, Shanks. So what does Shanks do? Activate main, once per turn, Don -3. All of your film type characters gain plus 2,000 power during this turn. So you might be thinking this kind of reminds me of Moby Dick as a field, and actually it does. It's kind of like the Moby Dick effect, and you might think, oh well, surely that's better because you have control over it. You can use it whenever you want to. You can use it early, you can use it late. But honestly, the film type support isn't really here for this to be a viable leader. I could see this potentially doing something in the future, but at the moment it really doesn't seem like it has the support to justify like using this. We'll show you what we're talking about. So we have the best card in the starter deck here, Uta. This card is absolutely incredible. This is by far the best card in the starter deck. So what does she do? She is a 4-drop 5k with 1k counter. Blocker and on-block Dom -1. Rest up to one of your opponent's characters at the cost of 5 or less. This is absolutely incredible. If Kaido had had access to this card, I think you would have seen even more purple at the treasure cups than you're seeing right now. Personally, I probably would have taken Kaido. I think this card, in combination with access to Douglas Bullet, it does wonders for the deck. So yeah, this is absolutely ridiculous. This reduces your vulnerability to aggro because you can chuck this up as a blocker. Obviously defend it, and then you Don -1, and suddenly your opponent has just lost a whole attack. 5 cost or lower is like huge. Obviously your opponent can play around it, right? If you're worried about rushes and stuff, but you know, most of the time your opponent's not going to be playing like you're only going to be dealing with rushes, and against into matchups where that isn't the case is obviously amazing. Now the downside of this card, it can be rested. And if it's rested, it's doing nothing. But you know, it's still free, and your opponent's still having to like commit resources into a blocker to arrest it. It's basically a strict upgrade to the Black Maria you're seeing in a lot of blue purple decks. Okay, then we got Douglas Bullet, and this card is also insane. So we're getting 2 copies here. So what does this do? This is an 8/10. Activate main, Dom -4. Rest up 2 of your opponent's characters with a cost of 6 or less. Then this character gains double attack during this turn. So essentially, you slam him down. And you can use him on the turn you play him if you want, if you just want to push some damage. That's totally fine. But on the following turn, a 7 cost kid, or an 8 cost kid or something, right? Like they're out of the way. And then you've got a 10k body. So this makes your matchup into 8 cost kid way easier without needing to rely on 10 cost Kaido, because you can slam this down on curve, which is, you know, if you're going first, it may very well be your turn 3, well, it'll still be your turn 4, right? It'll be your turn 4 if you're going first or something, but I mean, the point is, you slam this down on curve, you're going to be fine on damage-wise, most likely at that point in the game, and then once you've got this established, like, it's never dying, right? 10k is so huge as a body that it's not going to leave the field, and the effect is insane to start pressuring and really doing aggressive damage to give you board control. I mean, double attack as well. This card is incredibly powerful, incredibly good, and obviously the other best card of the starter deck. Then we got some less good ones. So we got Iron. We got 4 copies of Iron in the starter. On play, add a Don deck from your Don deck and rest it. Obviously this is generic, and having that on play is nice, but this card doesn't have any counter. If this card had a 1k counter, I think you'd be seeing it a lot more, but because of that, it's a bit of an L. And this is a 2-drop blocker, but it doesn't have counter, so kind of unplayable. Then we got 2 Carinas. This is an interesting card. This is 2-drop 3k with 1k counter. Activate main. You may rest this character and trash 1 field type card from your hand. If your opponent has more Don cards on their field than you, add 2 Don cards from your Don deck and rest it. Now the problem with this card is, if you think about it, this is never going to be the case unless you've used a Don minus effect, right? So throughout the normal flow of the game, you're never going to be able to use this to ramp. What you have to have done is you have to have used one of your Don minus effects, and then you can use this, pitch a card, and then get them back. And that feels really bad, I'm not going to lie, because either I'm using Don neg effects early game, which more than likely is not going to be doing anything super crazy, or it's later on in the game, and then am I really going to be wanting to dedicate my resources to just ramping back up? I'm going to get 2 more in the next turn anyway. I don't think this card is particularly good. Like, obviously it's a powerful effect to ramp 2, but it's so restrictive that, like, it makes me not so hot on the card, but it's possible it'll be good. Guild Tesoro, this is a pretty interesting card. This is a 5/6. When attacking, Don -2, draw 2. So obviously, you know, from the 5th turn of the game onwards, you can do this every single turn, and it's free because you're getting 2 Dons back. So, you know, it's very, very possible to just, like, play at an event or something, load 2 Dons up onto this guy, load 3 Dons up, just go, or even 1, just go like 7, 8, or 9, and then draw 2. And obviously that is an advantage engine that could potentially be very, very, very scary and difficult to deal with. I think this is one of the most unexplored potential cards from the starter deck, because it didn't really do much, but I think there's a lot of potential here, and it's one I'm always going to be keeping in mind when I'm building a deck. Then, 4 Gordon, Vanilla, 2 Shiki. This is a 6/7. If you have 8 or more Don, this character cannot be KO'd in battle, but I mean, frankly, a 6/7 is never going to get attacked into anyway. It's so big, it's not really worth it. It's going to get hard removed, and in that case, this does nothing, so this isn't worth playing. Then we got 4 Scarlet. The only reason you'd want to play this card is into a Rush Zorro format, where this has 1-drop stats, but if you do trigger it, then you just get it on the board. It's very, very, very not good. Like, very, very unlikely you'll ever want to play this. And we got Zephyr. This is a 7/8. When this card battles a strike attribute character, it gains 3,000 power during this turn. So it's an 11k into strike attributes. And then Don -1, this character gains 2,000 during this turn. So obviously, potentially, this is just a free 13k, a Don -1 for a 13k swing into a strike attribute. However, it's not very relevant in terms of there being big strike attribute characters. That being said, of course, if there was, like, if 7-cost Kid was strike attribute, for example, 8-cost Kid was strike attribute, and, you know, this came out in set 1, then you'd be seeing this everywhere, and this would be the hard counter to 8-cost Kid. So this is one, again, you know, we're going to have to see if it ever becomes meta relevant. We got our usual vanilla 3/5 and 4/6. We've got another great card here in Buena Festa. This is a 4. This is a 2k counter, 1-drop, which looks at the top 5 and adds a film. So yeah, obviously 2k counter for your top searcher, amazing. You will be playing this in any deck that's taking advantage of those film cards. Dr. Indigo, your 2-drop 4k counter, and then we got a couple of events that are potentially useful here. So we'll start with Union Armada. This is your 2-drop counter, so it gives you 4k, and then if that card is a character, it cannot be KO during this turn. So that's potentially very, very useful if we ever get that kind of... If we ever get a scenario where there's a film character who you want to be walling up behind to, in that scenario, then this will be broken and you will need 4 copies of this. So this is, again, one of those ones where you're going to want to own it long term, because it's very possible it'll just drop and somehow, like, as a card you just have to protect its film attributes, and you go, okay, sick, now I have this card that will always protect it. So that's worth saying. Of course, you know, it can still be hard removed, unless your opponent attacks into this first, but yeah, so this is okay. And then we got Lion's Threat Imperial Bind, as this is a Don -2, 3-cost event. KO up to one of your opponent's characters with a cost of 5 or less. So this is potentially very, very good. Obviously it's expensive, right? Like, it's 3, so it's efficient in that sense, but then you Don -2. So unless you're doing this later on in the game, it's not amazing. And this would be most powerful on curve. But fine, then later on in the game, you are KOing 5 or less. And of course, if you're doing a black-purple thing, then you could be KOing something significantly bigger. And obviously that's incredibly good value in those situations. So this is another one of those ones where it could be useful in particular black-purple builds like Zed. Obviously this doesn't see play in Zed in set 2, but it's one of those ones you want to keep in mind. So that is the starter deck. This is my attempt at fanning it out. So overall, for the set 1 format, I think this is like an 8 or 9 out of 10 starter deck. It just gives you... no, you know, I'm saying this is a 10 out of 10 starter deck for set 1 format, because it's just giving you stuff that you absolutely need for purple. Absolutely categorically, Bullet, you're probably playing at 2, and you're playing Uter at 4. Like, categorically, if you're playing purple in first set, you need 2 copies of the starter deck, because you need 4 copies of Uter. And that's just the truth. Everything else in here is kind of chaff or future potential at the moment, including the leader. So, obviously then, the question is, should you be picking it up? Set 1 format is due to last for about a month more at the time of this recording. So, you know, there's no big tournaments where you'll be able to use this. So you're not buying this for its competitive viability, you're buying this to take purple to locals and have fun. If you're happy to do that, then and you're happy to only get value out of it for the next month, then I think you should obviously buy it. This falls off a lot in set 2. You don't see really any Douglas Bullet, that much Douglas Bullet really in starters, in purple decks. However, you see a lot of Uta. You see so much Uta that I would still recommend it, even going into set 2 for purple players. I would say this is pretty much a mandatory purchase. So if you have any intention of playing purple in set 2, you probably want to be picking 2 of this up. I think it's a great starter deck in set 1, slightly less good in set 2, but still very good thanks to Uta. And I think there's some really fun tools in there. The film deck itself is not very great. You know, most of this deck you're not actually going to be using, but you'll be using enough that it's not going to feel like a horrible purchase. If you guys found this video useful, please do like it. Let me know what you think in the comment section down below. I have a Patreon page if you would like to support this channel and get access to exclusive competitive content before tournament seasons drop. So access to, you know, testing results and deck lists and all that sort of stuff. Please do check that Patreon page out. Join my Discord server to talk about all things One Piece, and if you're interested in Battle Spirit Saga, I also make videos on that, which you can find on my channel. That's enough for the shilling. Thank you so much for watching once again, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Cheers.